Thank you.
Continuamos con el programa.
So let's continue with the agenda. We are going to fine-tune it a bit because we will now give the floor to Hideki with an...
And we're very thankful. We need the presentation.
Yeah.
Can work. Hideki, come with me, and we'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming here.
Yeah.
We're going to do some kind of research, instant research. A ver, ¿a quién le gusta la animación japonesa?
Who likes Japanese animation?
Everybody in the rooms. Oh my God, I forgot. I mean, that's why you're here. We all love Japanese animation. You obviously are Japanese. You are an animation journalist, and we are very happy that you are generous enough to attend here and be able to share that knowledge with us. And also, this is part that we are doing the Animation Day more international. That's why we have translation in the Film Academy. And thanks a lot, because we're very eager to know all those secrets you will share with us. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Nice to meet you. I'm Hideki Nagaishi, the editor-in-chief of Animationweek and also a business consultant for animation business. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. Sorry, come on. I want to change the slide. It doesn't work? Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, works. So before starting to talk about the main topic, I want to introduce about Animationweek to you briefly. This is issue-style online interview magazine for animation professionals, and we publish annual issues focusing on the most important animation events and film festival in Europe, like Annecy Festival, Anima Fest Zagreb, cartoon movie, and so on. And we pick up great animation works and very interesting upcoming animation projects, and interview the producers or directors or any key people of the project or works. So you can read insightful words from the leading animation professionals. Then I move to the main topic today. So firstly, overview of the current Japanese animation industry. Let's see the sales by all Japanese commercial animation production companies from 2005 to 2021. In 2005, it was about 950 million euros, and it raised to about 2 billion euros in 2019, so it's about doubled. So Japanese animation industry is growing steadily and powerfully. Then next is numbers of Japanese animation titles. Actually, I counted the title by myself, so like I say, at least 1960 TV series were released in 2019, and in 2021, 227 titles were released, they broadcasted. And in terms of feature films, 53 titles were released in 2019, and 60 films released in 2021. So it's quite amazingly big number. So like I can say the Japanese animation industry is very, very busy industry at the moment. Next is about the growth of the global Japanese animation market from 2002 to 2020. In 2002, it was 8 billion euro, but from around 2013, it has started to grow, and in 2019, it reached about 18 billion euro. And this big growth has been led by the rapid growth of the animation, Japanese animation's overseas sales. So this is the top 10 feature films sold in Japanese market in 2019, and the blue colors are the Japanese animated feature films, and the black colors are American films. So in terms of the animation film market in 2019, Japanese animation and American animation dominated the market. And the top film, titled Weathering with You, is the film directed by Makoto Shinkai. And he's frequently called as the next Hayao Miyazaki. And I think except the first #1 film, other Japanese films are based on hit TV series. Yeah, next is. And then the top 10 Japanese animated feature films ever. It is global sales, not domestic sales. The top 1 title is Demon Slayer, and it became almost social phenomenon in Japan this year. And blue color text are feature films by Studio Ghibli and directed by Hayao Miyazaki. And the third place film is also the films by Makoto Shinkai. And the sixth place film named Stand By Me Doraemon, this is only one 3D CGI film in this list. So all other films are 2D animation. Then the main players in Japanese animation industry, firstly the TV companies. So in Japan, there's one public broadcaster named NHK, and they cover all over Japan. And in terms of private companies, so in Japan there are 45 prefectures, and each prefecture has at least one private TV company, and that's kind of local TV companies develop the local programs. And all of them are mainly, basically, the member of the 5 big TV companies groups. And in Tokyo area, there are 5 big TV companies: Nippon TV, TV Asahi, TBS Television, TV Tokyo, Fuji TV, and they are the leaders of that 5 big TV groups. And in the 3 biggest cities in Japan, Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, there are several big TV companies, and TV companies in this table are big and rich enough to produce animation series. And the major animation studios, I picked up studios worth to remember, and I categorized them into 4 groups. And the first one is big studios, and the Toei Animation is the biggest studio in Japan. And the next group is the studios focusing on feature films. And the studios famous for high-quality titles, and they are developing 3 feature films both. And the fourth one is young animation studios famous for high-quality titles, and studios in that groups are generally around 10 years old or younger than that. And this is about major online subscription video on-demand platforms, so SVOD platforms that have many animation titles. So as the Japanese animation market is quite huge, so that many SVOD platforms have many animation titles. And so in this list, the blue color is American service, and another are all Japanese domestic services. And Fulu is actually from originally American service, but Fulu Japan was bought by Nippon TV, Japanese TV company. So now Fulu Japan is a Japanese service. And 5 platforms has more than 1,000 animation titles, and Unext and the Anime Store has more than 4,000 animation titles. So it's really important for them to have much more Japanese animation titles to attract much more audiences. So this is about the market size of SVOD in Japan. In 2020, it was 2.3 billion euro, and last year it was 2.7 billion euro. So the market is growing. And the next graph is about the market share of SVOD service in Japan. The market leader is Netflix. They have about 20% market share, and other rivals keep their market share some extent. So like Japanese SVOD market has a diversity of business players. It is kind of the unique point of this market. And I also want to mention about the global online distribution of Japanese animation. Currently, Sony Group has a huge market share because they bought the main online Japanese animation distributors in the West. And all of them are currently under Crunchyroll, and Crunchyroll is the biggest online animation distributors in the world. And yeah. So next is the characteristic of Japanese animation. So Japanese animation is called anime among the global anime fans and animation professionals who deal with Japanese animation. And anime is a Japanese word, anime, it means animation. Then I listed the uniqueness of anime. And firstly, how to entertain the audience is a top priority. So anime industry try to pursue profit. And a lot of young adults and adult fans in the world. And anime is generally 2D animation. And a huge number of new titles every year. As I mentioned before, like about 40 to 50 new anime series are broadcasted in each 4th season. And about 25 minutes and around 10 episodes is a common format of TV anime series. And it is a really important thing. Anime is generally limited animation, and the European animation is full animation. Limited animation has 8 illustrations per second, and full animation has 24 illustrations or 12 illustrations per, 24 illustrations or 12 illustrations per second. And limited animation so enables Japanese animation industry to develop many series quickly with affordable budget because they need to draw just 8 illustrations per second. And Japanese animation industry have been invented original visual expressions unique to limited animation. And sometimes the limited animation, the difference of the limited animation and full animation makes it difficult to collaborate with Japanese studio and European animation studios. And in 2021, as I said before, 227 anime series titles were broadcasted in Japan, and 80 titles based on manga, and 40 titles based on light novel. So anime series based on hit manga and light novel. And I explain a little bit about light novel. So light novel is a kind of novels with many manga-style illustrations. And the light novels focus on entertaining audience rather than being like a more sophisticated literature. And majority of light novels have teenage main characters. So next is as I said, the manga so I think the manga industry is mine of high quality original stories for the anime industry. So I listed key features of manga in Japan. Rapid production of many episodes with black and white illustrations, and read by all ages, and huge competition for publication in each manga magazine, And at the moment, there are more than 200 manga magazines in Japan. And the topic range from hobbies to sci-fi and fantasy. I mean, it has a diversity of story topics. Let's see the size of manga market in Japan. In the 70s, in 1978, the size of manga market was 1.3 billion euro. And almost 50% of Japanese publishing market in 1978 was manga. And in the 70s and 90s, the manga market became 3 billion euro in 1988. And Weekly Shonen Jump, the top manga magazine in Japan, recorded 6 million copies per week in 1994. And Monthly Ribbon, this is a manga magazine targeting girls, recorded 2.5 million copies in 1993. And recently, the current 2 decades, the most big thing was like a Demon Slayer got a historic hit in 2021, last year, and the size of market reached 4.8 billion euro, thanks to the big hit of Demon Slayer, and it was the highest sales ever. And here, the 5 biggest Japanese manga publishers, so Shueisha, Kodansha, Kadokawa, Shogakkan, Hakusensha, and I listed their representative titles. So, but there are a lot. So, like, if you are interested in this kind of information, then please contact me later. So, what is anime like? Anime's 3 target audience groups and broadcast time slots. So, for anime titles for preschool children and family are generally broadcasted morning and late afternoon in weekend, and animation for teenagers broadcasted early evening in weekdays and weekend, and anime for adults and young adults from late evening to midnight. And then what anime topics appeal to older teenagers, young adults, and adults? As I mentioned before, one of the big characteristics of anime is that it has a lot of young adults and adult audience. So I picked up some popular topics in the West. So the first one is battle adventure. I think it is the most popular story topic, not only in Japan but also in the world. And there are many titles maybe you know already: Dragon Ball, One Piece, Demon Slayer, Naruto, My Hero Academia, and so on. And a lot of hit titles in this topic are from hit manga series from Weekly Shonen Jump. And next is science fiction, and they are the titles around the 90s, but the Akira and Ghost in the Shell is still internationally famous with high reputation. Next is the mystery or detective or suspense. I think there are many insightful philosophical stories in this topic. And next one is fantasy adventure. I think the most popular and famous title in this topic at the moment is Attack on Titan. And I think a unique characteristic of anime titles in this topic is that there are many stories that deal with politics. And drama and anime titles of this topic carefully depict internal character traits, and frequently there are many very touching stories. And then isekai. Isekai is a kind of story that the character are transferred or reincarnated to another fantasy world from the present day, and they do some adventures or they experience what they can experience only in a fantasy world. And this kind of story became popular in these 10 to 15 years. And lastly, romantic fantasy. So romantic fantasy anime titles frequently depict the school life and the daily life of Japanese high school students. And the director, so Makoto Shinkai, the director of Your Name, he's good at this kind of story. And here are other topics which are popular in Japan. So, as you know, there are many different story topics of anime for young adults and adults. And I don't have time to talk about these topics. So, like, if you want to hear about these story topics, and then please contact me later. So, next is popular anime titles for children and families. Actually, the anime titles for the popular anime titles for children and families are not so much compared to popular anime titles for young adults and adults. I listed some, and firstly, we can't remember that Studio Ghibli films are very popular in the world. And then Pokemon, Case Closed, Crayon Shin-chan, Doraemon, Yokai Watch, Digimon, Pretty Cure. And the three titles, Case Closed, Crayon Shin-chan, Doraemon, are quite famous in Asia. I also mentioned about Chinese animation. So the rise of anime-style animation produced by Chinese studios. Currently, the Chinese animation studios started to develop quite popular anime-style animation for global anime fans, and I introduced two titles here. The Legend of Hei is an animated feature film in 2019, and Link Click hit TV series last year. Two series are popular not only in Japan but also Western anime fans. And then anime's global expansion. In the 80s, anime TV series became very popular in France, Spain, and Italy, and other European countries. For example, UFO Robot Grandizer for boys and Candy Candy for girls. And in the 90s, several globally hit titles were appeared, like Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh! And at the same time, anime feature films for adults became a trend in North America, such as Ninja Scroll, Ghost in the Shell, and Akira, and they are kind of the pioneer in global animation industry. Like it is possible to develop mature story for adults with animation. And currently, from the 2000s to 2020s, a few mega hit titles have led to an explosion of the global animation market. Anime market. So early 2000s, for example, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, and the early 2010s, Attack on Titan, and the early 2020, so recently, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and so on. I think online platforms are kind of game changers. First of all, so in terms of anime, so majority of anime titles were watched with the pirated version online in many countries, actually. But thanks to the appearance of the online SVOD platforms focusing on anime, the issue was solved, and like a Crunchyroll, and they grew the global anime market rapidly. In terms of manga, almost the same issue was there, but Weekly Shonen Jump, the top manga magazine, released the free app for mobile and PC named Manga Plus, and then many people in the world can read several episodes of tons of manga titles, including the first episode to and latest episodes. So the service has increased the number of global manga fans and also supported the growth of global anime market. International collaboration. Unfortunately, the international collaboration between Japanese studio and foreign companies is not much. But on the other hand, some South Korean studios have a long collaboration with Japan to develop a lot of anime titles, such as I listed 2 studios here. And then I talk about international collaborations with USA briefly. In the 80s, some American companies ordered big Japanese animation studios to develop anime titles for American TV. And in the 2000s, some companies developed high-quality anime-style animation with Japanese studios. They are famous for high-quality works, like Batman Gotham Knight. And in the 2010s, it's quite interesting case, but several American TV series were developed by Polygon Pictures. They are 3D CGI studios, and they are really good at toon rendering 3D CGI, and they developed that kind of popular TV series. And recently, in the 2020s, huge collaboration with Netflix has started, so you can find many Netflix original anime titles. Then I talk about international collaboration with Europe briefly. So in the 70s and 80s, some TV series, they are collaboration with French companies, as I listed 3 titles here. And then from 2010 to now, some future films, mainly with the collaboration of the Japanese studio and French studio, appeared, like The Red Turtle, Mutafukaz. And the Summit of the Gods is not the collaboration with the Japanese anime industry and the European animation industry. It's a collaboration between the European animation industry and the Japanese manga industry. So the film is based on the hit manga title in Japan and France with the same title. And Bell is a Japanese film directed by Mamoru Hosoda. And Cartoon Saloon, a famous Irish studio, did some background artworks for this film. And Jin Kim, a famous Disney creator, did design work for one of the main characters for this film. And the director of this film, Mamoru Hosoda, wanted to collaborate with them. So it is a good example of the individual creators' international collaboration. And next is international collaboration. It's quite interesting collaboration. So this is a film titled The Journey, and produced by Toei Animation from Japan and manga productions from Saudi Arabia. And the story was written by 3 Saudi Arabian creators, but the other main core creators are all Japanese, like I listed here. Then the unique points of animation business in Japan. Firstly, I want to talk about 制作委員会方式. It's Japan's unique financing method. So 制作委員会 is a kind of production committee, and the member of this kind of committee are from different industries in Japan, like generally TV company, advertising agency, publishing company, record company, DVD and Blu-ray wholesaler, toy company, animation studio. And recently, the online SVOD platforms started to join, like Crunchyroll from USA and Bilibili from China. So I think it is kind of the easiest way to take part in. So if you will be the member of this kind of business committee, it is the easiest way to enter the Japanese animation industry. And so the member of this kind of production committee cover the whole budget of an animation project together. And so this 制作委員会 production committee enables an animation project to do a kind of multimedia business easily. And also this committee can prevent business failures of each company. So generally, anime titles do not rely on public fundings. It's a kind of big difference between European animation business and the Japanese animation business. So alternative ways of financing. There are some anime titles that only one company covers whole budget, like Dororo and Chainsaw Man. And also there are some anime titles that a few companies cover whole budget, like Bell and Demon Slayer. It means like some big enough anime companies finance anime titles alone, or only with a few big anime companies to get flexibility and speed of business and maximize their profit. So I want to talk about Japanese media conglomerates that hold anime companies. So as now, global anime market is quite huge. So several media conglomerates in Japan hold some anime companies. And if you contact anime studio, which is a part of one media conglomerate, you need to keep in mind that they might prioritize the group's plan and decision. So I introduce you 5 media conglomerates in Japan. Firstly, Sony Group, and then Fuji Sankei Communications Group. Next is the Yomiuri Shimbun Group, and the Asahi Shimbun Group. So the Yomiuri Shimbun and Asahi Shimbun are the 2 of 4 national newspapers in Japan. And the lastly, Kadokawa Group, centering the Kadokawa, one of the biggest manga publishers in Japan. Then European animation in current Japan market. So actually, it is quite rare that Japanese private TV companies broadcast foreign animation titles. So I listed foreign animation titles currently NHK is broadcasting. And next is about Japanese film distributors. So there are 3 big film distributors in Japan: Toho, Toei, Shochiku, and generally they distribute Japanese films and hit live-action films from the world and mega-hit animated feature films from America. So I listed the Japanese film distributors who have been distributed some European animated feature films here. So next is which Japanese online platforms will purchase European animation. So I listed several Japanese online SVOD platforms, and it is not the list of platforms that have European animations, but these are platforms that I see a possibility of dealing with European animation because they have a variety of content at the moment. So where can you meet Japanese anime companies? So I want to let you know these 2 events, MIPCOM and TIFCOM. So MIPCOM is the annual international trade show, mainly TV series, and being held Cannes in France, and TIFCOM is an international content market which is held during the International Tokyo Film Festival. And you can meet many anime companies if you can attend these events. So take-home message. So it can be very exciting to collaborate with Japanese animation industry, but its business model and environment differ in many ways from the European animation industry. So do you want to collaborate with Japanese animation companies or enter the global anime market or distribute your animation titles to Japan? Then please feel free to contact me. Yeah, thank you. So And anyway, so I rushed to talk about all slides. So like if you want to hear more about some specific first slide, then please contact me later. Yep.
Thank you, Hideki.
Yep.
I mean, let's take the stage.
Okay.
Thank you. ¿Algunas preguntas?
Questions in the room? I'm sure you have lots of things to ask. Don't be shy. We also have Eduardo Atsuara, who actually worked in Japan, and he can tell you about his experience there. He can tell you his personal anecdotes. Here, microphone here, please. Remember to wait until the microphone is there so that they can hear you. The people following us on streaming can actually hear your question. Thank you very much. Can I ask my question in Spanish? If you can do it in English? No, my English is very bad.
Is it difficult for an artist to work in a Japanese studio?
So in terms of animators, so I think 10 years ago it's quite difficult to work for Japanese animation industry, but currently the situation is changing. So like, for example, Netflix had some international project and some Japanese studios like OLM, Polygon Pictures, Mappas had already worked with several individual animators from Europe or America or South America. So I think now it is possible, but not easy, because as I said in my presentation, they are drawing limited animation, not full animation.
Otra pregunta.
Believe there's another question.
We'll have one there and one there, please.
Hello, thank you, Hideki, for your presentation. I want to ask you, which is the perspective from today? Like, if there's a possibility, or what do you recommend if Latin American partnership with Asian or Japanese companies and Latin American companies, which is like the most difficult thing to arrange different kind of projects?
So you're asking about the possibility of the collaboration between the Latin America and
which
Japan.
are the most difficult points to...
The difference or it's kind of the challenge? I think that at the moment, to collaborate with Japanese animation industry is not difficult as compared to before. So like I think the most important thing is the first language barrier, because like it is important to speak Japanese. So like the number of like animation producers or directors in Japan can't speak English. And I think another most difficult thing to collaborate with Japanese animation studio is the way of preparing budget. So like Japanese animation industry rely on the private companies. So like if, I'm not sure about the situation of the Latin America well, but in Europe, so many animation titles rely on public funding, and the public funding support animation industry to grow or keep the European culture, local culture. So like if you collaborate with Japanese studios and it will be the 50-50 or Japanese side 60, European side 40, then it will not be a European animation. So there's a possibility that you can't use the money from public funding in Europe, and you need to prepare enough budget from private investors in Europe, and it's quite difficult. But currently, Netflix has their business in the world, so like, yeah, you can contact some American platforms and something like that, and maybe there's something door to open, collaborate with Japanese industry, I think.
Thank you.
Ya la ha respondido.
That's fine. It's already been answered. Thank you.
Suara there,
Perfecto.
which, I mean, apart from your question, Eduardo, if you could explain a little bit your experience there. So,
I mean,
sorry to put you on the spot, we know each other, so that's why friends are for.
I think Hideki's presentation was pretty on the spot in terms of like the details of what the animation industry is like in Japan. My personal experience, I think especially like he said, the language barrier is one of the biggest things to overcome.
Yep.
And thankfully, more and more studios that do international collaborations and are very progressive. So it's opening up, even though Japan has a fame for being a very closed country, very protective country, especially the anime industry with VOD platforms is starting to open up to the world and especially to new talent. So now I think it's one of the best moments to put yourself out there and contact Japanese studios. Now, in regards to my question, one of the things that I noticed from your presentation is that the revenue for animation peaked around 2 billion euro in 2019, but and then it started to slow down a little bit, maybe because of the pandemic. However, the number of shows has kept going up. There's 20 more shows. And if you take that there's like 24 episodes per every show, it's a very crazy level of production, like 15 new episodes every single day in Japan. So I'm just wondering, how do you think you can explain why, even though the number of the revenue has gone a little bit down, there's still even more shows in the Japanese market?
As I showed in the graph about the growth of the global anime market. So currently, the Japanese anime industry relying on the revenue from the overseas market. And in terms of the developing TV animation series, it's quite, I think, as I said, so their Seisaku Inkai Hoshiki is quite unique way of financing each TV series. So mainly TV companies or advertisement companies are the biggest investors for TV series, or sometimes the several big publishers. So they haven't received the big, the effect from the pandemic. For example, the manga industry in Japan could increase the market size because people started to read manga on like an iPad or something like that. So I think film industry received a more big effect from the COVID-19 pandemic. And also I wanted to let you know it's now Japan's animation industry has its more extreme two sides. I mean the TV companies want to keep developing almost same number of TV series every season. But some anime studios want to develop much more high-quality animation series to attract global audience. So animation studios, they are famous for high quality, selecting project carefully, and they try to use much more production time and try to pay much more budget. So there are many projects, animation projects, there are still TV companies can't find the production studios. So in these years, a new anime studios appeared in Japanese animation industry over and over, and they are quite small studios. But it is possible because actually, I'm not sure the percentage at the moment, but I remember about 5 or 10 years ago, more than 70 or 80% of animators are freelance, so they can work with any kind of animation studios. So that's kind of stories there.
¿Tenemos alguna otra pregunta?
Do you have any other questions? Yes, there are 2 questions here.
But I was wondering, what are your thoughts on how the animation workers work in Japan as the demand in anime and manga increases? As I believe I read, they are a little bit exploited and under a lot of pressure due to that huge increase in the demand.
Yes, it's good question. So, Japanese animation industry has been facing an issue with the working environment of animators because they couldn't prepare enough salary to them, or many animators are, I said, freelance, so they need to work a lot to get enough income to live. But as now everyone in Japan notice about anime is really, really important industry in Japan, the situation is improving. Thanks to the American big companies like Amazon Prime and Netflix, they use much more money to Japanese animation industry. And as I said, some animation studios try to focus to develop much more high quality titles. So many studios try to pay much more salary to animators, and the Japanese animation market try to prepare the good education system to educate young animators. So as I said, there are many small animation studios appear over and over. So if you are really young animators in Japan, only work for that kind of studios, I'm not sure you can get enough salary, but it's really competitive. But if you can have enough skill and can work for really energetic, big titles, then I think you can get enough salary.
We have another question there. Here, please.
Okay.
By the way, there is a wonderful book by an author called Steve Alpert, who was head of international at Ghibli for 15 years, and it's a inside, account of those years, which is really, really fascinating. So it's in case you're interested.
First of all, thank you. What I wanted to ask was partially answered just now, basically, but as a freelance animator who's worked in Japanese productions a couple times, one of my main worries is the lack of training and how it's very difficult to actually learn the pipeline of Japanese animation. Do you think that in the foreseeable future we can expect more initiatives like the Kyoto Animation School, or that short-wit studio like learning recruitment thing that happened a while back? So where that foreign animators can also accustom themselves to the pipeline?
Actually, at the moment, the many studios have their own animation courses for young talents, like Toei Animation, Sunrise, Studio 4C, MAPPA. So it's not only as I said, Kyoto Animation, but also several animation studios. They want to develop high quality animations. They are really eager to educate young talent. So there are many opportunities to learn how to draw anime style animation from Japanese animation studios. And also Netflix helps some studios with the studio, and I'm not sure any other studio, but so Netflix also helping Japanese animation studios to hold an animation class for young talents. So I'm not sure which class you can apply for only by speaking English, but generally you need to speak Japanese. But I think in the future you can take that kind of lecture in English, hopefully.
Understand, thanks.
Thank you.
¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Any other questions? Here, I believe, yes.
Normally, when someone talks about working in the anime industry, it's from the point of view of an artist, like I want to be an animator, I want to draw these very pretty episodes and all. But from the point of view of bringing the idea, should you also be an artist and bring your idea already drawn? Or could you like, I have this idea, this guideline, this script, and how possible could it be to get that to work out? And also I have another question, which is more like regarding the 237 anime titles every year, which that sounds like a lot. And I was wondering if the anime industry doesn't feel a bit overhauled or overwhelmed with that much anime per year. I mean, I think in 14 years of my life, I haven't seen even 70 animes.
So I wanted to ask about your first question. So your first question is about the way of the producing your story ideas to Japanese animation industry or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, so like as majority of anime titles based on manga or light novel, it's quite difficult to present your like a new project to Japanese studio. So maybe if you want to do that, then you should find some kind of international collaboration. I mean, like so now Netflix collaborate with many Japanese studios, but Netflix is the American studio, so they are really familiar with that kind of culture. Like you bring your presentation and you explain about you have this kind of good story and you can draw good characters, then maybe Netflix will stand between the Japanese studio and you, hopefully. And about the next question, the reason why the still around 200 new anime series were broadcasted every year is like a TV company want to broadcast because anime is really, really popular in Japan. So a lot of Japanese wanted to watch much more anime, and now they can export anime titles to the world, like sell a lot of IPs to Netflix or European platforms. So TV companies or manga publishers, that's kind of the entertainment company, wanted to keep develop that amount of series. But as you worry about, the animation industry is already exhausted to develop that amount of animation titles, and they really lack the number of animators. So they're eager to educate and grow young talents. So now there are a lot of new animation schools run by many studios. But still, I think the number of new animation series should be reduced to around 100, I think. 200 is too much.
I mean, it's not only about saying, wow, there's a lot of anime to watch. No, it's not only that. It's that as time passes, animation that's good, not only animation, also in story, in characters, and sometimes I see myself watching something, I've seen already 5 episodes, and I'm like, what I'm watching, I don't even understand it, I don't see the point. And it's supposed to be like an action anime, a shonen, or something like that, and I still don't feel attracted to it, not even by animation or characters, nothing.
Okay, so the quality of the average quality of the 200 TV series in Japan, and I think you think about there are a lot of not interesting titles, right? So so you should be focused more about finding much more interesting story. But actually, it depends on the skill of producers in TV companies or animation studios or publishers, because as I said, like now, there are more than 200 manga magazines in Japan. So there are a lot of really good stories which has not animated. So like if TV companies, producers and animation producers try to find much more good stories, it is still possible to find a lot of stories. Each manga magazine has at least 5 to 10 titles. So it means 2,000 manga series are published every year. And also that there are several original series. So studios or develop new story together with freelance famous scriptwriter or something like that. So like I think Japanese still can develop a lot of good stories. And if you think like there are too much titles because some stories are not interesting, then it's because of the TV producers needed to find much more good story. But it's difficult because they're really, really busy. So I can understand that. But
¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Thanks a lot. We have any more questions? Also for sorry, I'm blinded here.
No, no hay más preguntas.
No, there aren't any more questions. Okay, so we're going to leave it here. We'll be back at noon after coffee. You know that we're at the academy, the cinema academy. There is coffee shop that is always open, and you also have a wonderful library that is open to all of you. So you can not only enjoy it today, but during the whole year. Thank you very much.